We are live on the chat with Debbie Sue Goodman. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Wonderful, Roberta. How are you?
I
Thank you.
I am doing great. Debbie is an author. She's written 3 books: Still Single, Still Dating, My Husband, The Stranger. She's also a stand-up comedian, and she writes for TV as well. She writes screenplays. So, Debbie, I invited you on the show so we could talk about your books. Talking about dating is always very fun, right? When you talk about dating with your friends, close friends, right? Perhaps even relatives. Everybody always has really good stories. So I am really
Yes.
interested in hearing your story. So tell me, first of all, what inspired you to write these books? Because you wrote Still Single and Still Dating. Um, so
Yes.
tell me about that. What motivated you to write these books about dating or your experience
Well,
dating?
sure. When I was, kind of like when I was growing up or I was in school and stuff, I always enjoyed writing poetry and writing, and not only poems, but I always enjoyed writing songs, actually song lyrics. And I started out doing that. And then in the evenings, I used to keep a journal. So if something happy happened in my life, I would write it down. If something sad happened, I would write it down. And I kind of made it into a poem. And if an aunt or my when my grandmother passed and stuff, or my dad, whoever passed, and my mother passed years ago, I just I wrote it into a poem, a song, whatever was on my mind. And I started thinking at the time that it would be really good to maybe put this into a book. So I did, and I sent it to a book publisher, and I got came out with stories of funny dates that not only that it happened to me, but I've had a lot of male and female friends that were single, divorced through the years that were always sharing funny stories. So I said I've had a lot of funny dating stories. So I put that in a book with some poems and songs, the family experiences into Still Single, and then through the years, I had some more funny stories, and then my mother became a widow, and I talked her into online dating, and she went on some funny, dates. So I had incorporated the two of us in this book, Still Dating, with, some more humorous stories. And then the third book, My Husband, the Stranger, is a drama story. It's a novel based on a couple of friends that went through a divorce. And I had been married quite a number of years ago, and I had an annulment, and we were all talking over breakfast. And I said, with everything that happened with you gals and, different things in my life and their lives, I kind of put a bunch of stories together and then came up with a drama called My Husband, the Stranger, which I'm hoping maybe someday will be a feature film or a Netflix film or something for made for TV, because of a really good story or a
Oh my
movie.
God, I bet. So tell me about your dating life. What is the funniest or the most comical date that you've been on?
Sure. Well, I've had a few. I'll tell you
Well,
right.
you feel free to share all the funny ones. I am I'll
Sure,
listen.
sure. Well, I will say that I usually start out my comedy shows talking about just how you
Yeah.
can meet someone in unusual ways. For instance, I was just standing at my local post office, minding my own business there. I was on a lunch break, and I was waiting in line, and there was a guy behind me. He tapped me on the shoulder. I turned
Mhm.
around, and he says, with a face like that, I feel like I could tell you anything. He says, I'm going to tell you everything. And he was holding a bunch of envelopes. He says, look at this. I lost my last 4 jobs. Yep, they fired me, and I'm mailing out 6 resumes, and my car was repossessed. So I
Wow.
gave him my phone number. I don't know why. I just thought he looked like a nice guy. I'll give him my number. And then when we left, and I went back to the office to work, and my phone rang, and I picked it up, and I hear a strange noise in the background. It sounded like a washer and dryer. It was like thump, 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 thump. Sure
Mhm.
enough, he said, Debbie, I'm calling you from the local laundromat because they took my phone away, and I've only got a minute to talk to you because I'm using a payphone and I'm running out of change. I said, oh my goodness, a payphone in this day and age. He says, but I'd like to take you on a date for a walk. I said, "Oh my goodness, a walk! I don't do things like that on the first day. Maybe the second or the third,
That's
but
funny.
certainly not the first date. I am not that kind of girl for the first date." But it was cute. We ended up staying friends for a while. He moved away. He moved out of the state, but it was fun.
Debbie, do you think that, because, I've asked friends like this before, if somebody's unemployed, right? If you're unemployed,
Yeah.
like the situation that this guy in it is in or was in at the time, should you be dating at that time, or is it better just to wait until you get your life back together, your professional life back together, and you can actually afford, your own place, perhaps having your own washer and dryer in this instance? So, do you think it's appropriate to be dating while broke, basically?
Right.
That would be Debbie, that would be another good book that I would love to read, Dating While
Yes.
Broke.
I was just going to say that Rob was to say the same thing. We should write a book together.
There
That
you
could
go.
be our next one.
Yes, Dating While Broke. That's funny. But what's your
That's
opinion on
cute.
that? Should
Yeah,
people
I
be
think
dating?
that well, there's and people have fallen on hard times sometimes, and you have to, or they've lost their jobs, or they, for various reasons, and you really have to, just until you get another job, you can maybe meet someone, doing something that you enjoy that maybe doesn't cost anything. Just like he was, suggesting walking. Maybe you walk through the park, or maybe go to the health club if you are a member and work out. Like I like to go to. They have a track, a health club track where I go, where I walk around the track, and I've met various people just talking
Yeah.
while I'm walking, or walk to the park, or walk, or take an aerobics class or something, or go dancing. But if you're miniature golfing, something that you enjoy, but even if you're out of work, you can share that with someone. You can be honest and share with someone that that you are in transitions here, where you can't, you can't say that you actually have a job at this time, but maybe perhaps you'll have one soon, and you're looking.
Right.
And a lot of women can understand that if a fellow is looking, for a job, and maybe they can help. Maybe the lady could suggest something, or let's go to the library together and help you. Maybe look up some, job, different job openings. There's all kinds of different websites that have job openings, and maybe she can help. And if it's the woman is out of work, and maybe that perhaps the fella can help her too. So you can, start out like that. And I think necessarily that you have to be working full time to meet someone, but you can always just share that you are, looking, that something you fell on hard times. Maybe they lost their job, or they just
Hmm.
are, in transition looking for another job. And I think you can still meet someone, and you don't have to. Yeah, for me, it really doesn't matter what anybody does, as long as they're happy in their life, they're happy with what they're doing. They don't have to be, in a mansion with swimming pool and tennis court. You can have be happy in a small studio. You don't
Yeah.
really need to have everything to be happy. You just need to be
Yes.
happy with yourself and what you enjoy doing.
Yes. As someone who has lived in a studio apartment in New York City, I completely agree with you. Well, especially because studio apartments in New York City too can be quite expensive anyway. But yeah, so how
Yes,
do you?
for
So
sure.
I agree with completely with what you said, right? And I think if the person is not trying to take advantage of, the woman or the man, depending, there's some men who like to take care of women, and there's some women who like to take care of men, and that's fine. But
Sure.
what I've heard from women before, from friends, is that for them it would be a turnoff if they would have to pay for dinner the first time, like if they go on a date, or even, well, they would actually have to pay for dinner or a movie or everything on every date until they find a job. And to them, it's not, they've shared, it's like, well, that's not a good way to start a relationship, right?
Sure.
If the person is very dedicating at finding a job, it's like, okay, well, this person legitimately, got laid off, lost their job, and they're actually trying really
Sure.
hard to find a job. That's good. But I think, for a lot of women, right, it might be like, well, it's a deal breaker if he can't afford
Sure.
to pay for dinner. So would you feel comfortable
Yeah.
paying, going out and paying for dinner a few times? Well, let me ask you this. Have
Yeah.
you ever picked up the tab on a first date?
On a first date, they usually, if I've met somebody, I've never had that really happen. I've had pretty much where we might have met for perhaps like tea, or they have coffee, or they have a soft
Yeah.
drink or something. And then if we're going to go to, if they invite me to lunch or dinner or something, maybe a few days later, I always offer, if I can offer to pay for my own or a tip or something. I mean, I'm just a generous person to begin with. That's the way I am. And if somebody is, just meeting you for the first time, if they can't afford something, I'm happy. Just, I can even cook dinner,
Yeah, there you go.
after I get to know somebody. And, you pick up just a fast food sandwich and split it. I'm very happy just having a half of a turkey sandwich. I mean, I can
Aw.
split a sandwich with someone and have it. I don't have to sit down and have a full course meal. I'm happy just with the conversation. So for me, I don't really need to have all these,
Yeah.
all this others. And I know that, maybe other people, have other interests, but if it's for the first time and the gentleman can't, maybe afford the dinner, then you can always figure out a different option. Maybe go to a cafe and just have a soft drink, and, or split a sandwich or something, something that,
Yeah.
that you can share together, and maybe split the meal would be fine. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm open to anything, but I am, for me, I'm always offering if I can help out with a tip or anything,
Yeah.
because that's just the way I am. I've always been like that. I'm a very giving person and a very generous. So for me, whatever anybody can afford is fine, and if they can't, then, you sit and, why not just, go, like he had suggested, we go to the park, sit on a bench, talk, or go somewhere to exercise class together. If you have a membership and you can bring a guest, bring the person that lost their job. Maybe
Yeah.
that they would enjoy doing that too.
Oh, Debbie, you're so sweet. You're such a good person. Oh my God. Now it's like,
Oh,
so,
thank you.
so
So
now
are
I,
you, Rob. Thank you.
with all that you've said right now, it's like now I'm wondering, why is this woman single? I mean, come on, what's going on? You're such a, like, you said it's true. You're a generous person. Sounds like you're a compassionate,
Thank you.
generous person. So why
Yes.
why do you think you're still single? What's going on? Because people ask me, isn't that
Sure.
the question? I think we all hate it, right? Because it's perhaps
I know.
it's
I
not as
know.
it's not as easy, because I'm single as well, and it's sometimes it's not the easiest question to answer, because you're like, well, I feel like I'm a good person and stuff. And
Sure.
in my
Sure.
case, to be honest, like I do prefer like the single life, because I'm like, well, but during the pandemic, I must say, and I'll ask you this too in a bit, see how you felt about it. But
Right.
like during the
Right.
pandemic, I think for a lot of us, we started wondering, right? It's like, okay, well, we're single and we're spending
Sure.
all this time, locked up and alone in our house, in our apartment. And it's just,
Right.
life just comes to a stop. And then you kind of realize it's like, oh my God,
Sure.
am I on the right track here? Right. It's like, yes,
I know. I
it's
know.
nice being single, at least for me, I can say, right? Because there's the freedom of, doing whatever you want to do, going wherever you want to go, and no one really stops you. And you
Sure.
can go to bed anytime you want, you can cook if you want, you can clean whenever you want. Like, you basically,
Right.
it's freedom in a way, right? But I think, like I said, during the pandemic, and I read an article about this, is that, a lot of us, right, started thinking it's like, okay, well, let's evaluate our life. And,
Sure.
should we be
Sure.
changing, our status, right, from being single to perhaps being in a relationship and finding someone to share life
Sure.
with. So I
I know
won't
what you
ask
mean.
you
Yeah.
this. So I'll retract my question, because I think it's pretty stupid, and I think I just answered it, right? Because like I said, I don't think none of us really want to answer it, because it's, you have to find the right person, basically, right?
Sure.
And
Of
perhaps
course.
you're not,
Of course.
ready for a relationship. But I will ask you, about the pandemic. Did
Sure.
that pandemic, did it change your view on life any, or did you have any moments where you're like, as I was describing, right, that people were wondering if they were on the right track? Tell me
Of
about your experience
course.
during
Of
the pandemic.
course. I think everybody sort of felt the same, where, everything just came to a stop, to a standstill. And with work, because I have a regular job too, besides doing my comedy on the evenings or on weekends, and, author events that I have done through the years. Everything, there were no more comedy shows. There was no live entertainment, at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and they brought it back a little by little. But I did more writing, and I just kind of, and yes, I think in going back to the first question too, and which is important. A lot of people feel, when they're single for, during holidays or during not only holidays, special times, birthdays, whatever, when you don't have a significant other with you, a
Yeah.
companion or somebody that you're dating. And I mean, I've been lucky to have I have wonderful male friends, and a fellow that I've been, a companion with for like about almost, well, it's actually over 9 years.
Oh,
It's
okay.
almost 10, but it's a long time. But I mean, we hang out, we can go to dinner, movies, and just watch TV and stuff. But I have male friends that I go out to, not only just for a meal, but just to we'll go to a concert and stuff, that I've known for years, and they're wonderful. And I got lucky with female friends and male buddies. But yes, 7 years ago, I had met someone and was married for not very long. We had known each other for a little about a year and a half or so. And I wasn't happy, and I left, and I had an annulment. I didn't have a divorce. I had an annulment, but I do have
Mm.
girlfriends that have gone through divorces, and, some male friends too, that have through the years that I've known that have gone through a divorce or that they got married. And I have married friends too that have been married for a long time. So I got lucky with the really fabulous friends. But through the years, people have told me different things. How do you feel, or asked me, how do you feel about, being, single, and just in general. And I'm happy with my life. I'm okay. I would love to someday maybe be married again, and
Yeah.
just have someone to share my life with. And it's nice to be able to know that you have somebody with you. And
Yeah.
I understand that a lot of people are. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. But for me, sure, I would love that. I would love to have that for, just like some members of my family that have been married for a long, long time, and I would love to have that type of a relationship. But if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm fine either way.
Yeah.
But you have to be happy with your life. I have interests that keep me busy, and work keeps me busy, and outside activities and writing and comedy and stuff like that. But I think it just changed for it just everything was just so different for the
Mm-hmm.
last couple of years for everyone, I believe, and we all kind of reevaluated our lives and stuff, for sure.
Yeah. So tell me about, I gotta ask you about, you mentioned you have currently a
Sure,
friend that
sure.
you've had for 9 years. So what would be the label that you put on that relationship? Is it just like a friends with benefits, or is it more just a
I think
friend? Like, because those are very
it's a good friendship. It's a
uh,
good friendship, sort of like a companionship. We've traveled together. We went to Vegas too.
oh,
Next
nice.
time I go, I have to let you know. I would love to meet up.
Yes.
That would be wonderful. But yeah, I mean, we've traveled. We've taken weekend trips, and sometimes gone away for weeks. For a week at a time, and just enjoy each other's company, and shared a lot. And he's a widow. He lost his
Okay.
wife years ago, and it was like about 10 years ago. We met not that long after that. But and the same thing with my other male friends. Whenever we get together, it's like if we don't see somebody for 2 or 3 months, and then we hang out, we'll go to dinner or a movie or a show or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we just saw each other. It's the same thing with a girlfriend. If I don't see someone, sometimes I don't see a girlfriend for sometimes 6 months or a year. One of my friends, we get back together, and it's like we'll meet for lunch, and it's like we never, like we just saw each other. Like
Yeah.
there was no time that passed, because when you have good friends, that's what happens. Well, we'll
Yeah.
text, we'll call each other and stuff like that. But it is for now I'm happy with my life the way it is. I think
Yeah.
I'm okay.
And that's important, right? Because I think that, we shouldn't decide just to be happy when we have like everything that we want, right? I think that we should,
Sure.
love being alive every day, enjoying every moment and
Yes,
doing
of
that's
course.
kind of been my attitude, the last few years, because I think if you, whether you have, career aspirations, whatever it is, it's like, don't wait to be
Sure.
happy until those are fulfilled. It's like, be happy now. And, to be honest, it's worked really well for me because, you can't go through life just waiting until everything is perfect to be happy. You have to be happy
Right.
now, like every
Exactly.
moment that you're alive, being, because that was one of the other things too for me that came out of the pandemic is I became more, I was more grateful about everything, especially, there were so many people losing family members and everything. And
Right.
thankfully, I didn't experience any losses in my close immediate family. So I'm
Good,
very
good. Me
yeah,
too. Me too. Everybody
good.
was I'm knocking on wood here for, thank
Yeah.
goodness everybody was okay. Yes.
Yeah, but with that, I was like, I'm just so grateful, that, all my family's still here, my close friends are still here, after the worst of the pandemic, because some people say, well, there's still people dying, and I acknowledge that. But, I'm
Sure.
grateful that, the people around me and, close friends, family, that they're still here with me, because a lot of people unfortunately can't say the same thing. But
Right. Me
um
too. I'm so happy. I don't have a big family, but the family that I do have, and they're all healthy and happy, and everybody is okay. And it's so sad to watch the news with
yeah.
so much heartache on other people that don't have their,
Right.
family members or friends that have passed from, during the pandemic. But as I'm so grateful that I do have all my friends and family that they're all healthy, and thank goodness. I mean, it's just been a terrible, sad time. And I mean, it's still, is sometimes you listen to the news. There's a lot of sadness, but
I know.
hopefully, there'll be happier times ahead. And that's pretty much what I was doing was just trying to keep busy at home or writing. And like we were talking about too, I miss performing with my screenplay, my dating dilemmas screenplay, and
Yeah.
the one that I won an award for best script screenplay. It was for the Believe in Your Dreams Oregon Cinefest 2022, and I won this beautiful. It's a beautiful certificate, and it shows that my comedy won, and I'm so honored. I mean, through the
Yes.
years, I've won various awards for magazines and different things. I mean,
For your
it's been
writing.
amazing. I have and my dear friend Jennifer that awarded me this beautiful award. I think it's amazing. And Sandra, my friend Sandra, my dear friend Sandra, she runs a magazine, Red. The Luxury Life. It's a beautiful magazine, an online magazine. And then she submitted my comedy through the years, and I won for the last 3 years. Every year
Very.
for best comedian in Chicago, it's like an award for her magazine, and I've been featured in her magazine, and it's just been amazing. I mean, I've had some really nice things happen,
Yes.
throughout the last a few years, and have been invited to perform at various shows, of charity events, and the singles groups and senior groups, and author events. I've just been very library events. I've been happy through the years to be invited to perform.
Yeah.
It's always an honor to be anywhere doing my comedy or talking to people. I really enjoy it.
Yes. Well, congratulations on the award, by the way, Debbie. And I
Thank you, Rob.
I do want to ask you, tell us a little bit more about the dating dilemmas, the screenplay.
Oh yes, sure, sure. It's what it is I wrote the story based on was my mother passed several years back in 2014, but we were very close, and she was a widow, at the time. And, through the years, she, was talking about, she had male friends that she, companion that she went out with. And we were talking about the online dating, trying online dating. And I
Hmm.
was telling her I didn't think I could do that, but, I wasn't sure about it. But then she kind of talked me into it, and said that one of her friends, it was funny because she said her friend's daughter's niece's cousin's, I don't know who it was, sister. It was like somebody that tried it, and she talked me into it. So, and then she told me I had put a picture on there, and I said, okay, I'll go get my college picture or something. Everybody puts photos on there that are like from 15, 20 years ago, but I really, seriously though, I did put a I did put a
A good
recent
picture.
picture on it. But
Okay.
there were people that were answering me that had photos. The guys had photos that I think they were like from 20 years ago. It must have been
Well,
from high school or something. I
you
don't know.
can tell, Debbie,
So,
you can tell when a picture on an online dating profile is old because it looks, I mean, phones these days, right? They take beautiful, amazing pictures. I mean, it's like basically like 4K, you know?
right,
So
right.
when you see an old picture that looks like a scanned photo, you know it's like, okay, this picture based on the colors of the picture and the resolution, you know that this is not a new picture. So you have to be on the lookout for that. Yes, when
Right.
chat with people online.
I know, I know. I was like, and when I went to meet, at a busy cafe or whatever, it was one of the dates, I didn't even know who he was because he described himself. He described himself like 6 feet tall with a full head of, this brown hair, mustache. And he says my hair is past my shoulders, and I'm very, very thin. I'm in good shape. And he described himself in a way that was like he said he was 25 years younger than he was. So when I walked in, he knew me right away. I just kept walking, looking around, but I walked right by him. And then I said, "Oh, I didn't know it was, I didn't recognize him. I mean, it was just, he had some sideburns. He was much, much smaller. I think he might have been maybe 5'1". He wasn't 6'2", and he was not really. He didn't work out that much, but it didn't bother me because if he would have been honest, though, I would have met him either way. And I know
Yeah.
he was much older than he said, and the gray sideburns, and I knew that he says I didn't want to put my recent picture on there because I didn't think anybody would meet me. And I said, well, it's better to be honest, because then you meet someone, they would rather see who you really are instead of you shouldn't waste people's time because there might be
Exactly.
somebody that may not be looking for someone that's 25 years older. But I did meet, I did stay, and I did meet him, and we ended up staying friends for a number of years. So I mean, it's you're better off starting out being honest and saying,
Yeah.
this is really what I look like. This is really my interest. There's people that write. I had some guys that wrote that they like skydiving and volleyball and tennis and golfing and soccer playing and all these things and weightlifting. And then when you meet them, they're like, well, I just like to go out to a movie once in a while and watch TV at home. They're not really into that, but they thought it sounded better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of silly. I just say what I enjoy, sure, a show once in a while. Movies are good. The theater, I love to go to plays
Yeah.
and musicals once in a while, or just listen to live entertainment. But I don't, and I love to work out and exercise, but I don't list a bunch of things that I don't enjoy or that I don't do, because that's not, that's not being honest. It's not good.
It's not,
You're better
because
off.
at the end of the day, I don't understand, what they're thinking. Like people who post old pictures and stuff, or well, for I think it's more important, right? Because people, if they lie about their hobbies and stuff, it's like, okay, well, perhaps it's not a deal breaker. But if you
Right.
meet someone, right, that is 25 years older, and perhaps looks completely different than the picture they posted now, or it might not even be
Right.
them at all. But if they have a
Right.
plan to really meet you, I'm like, what are they expecting? I mean, what I don't understand the reaction that they're expecting from people when you meet them face to face, and then they, to realize that, you lied to me.
Sure.
Is that the first impression you want to make? Is,
Exactly.
yeah, that it's a big lie, because it's not just like
I
I
know, it
said.
really is. It
It
really is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I did with Dating Dilemmas is I have these various scenes. They're like 3 or 4 minute scenes, and performed it at different, not only just small theaters in
Mhm.
Chicago, some comedy clubs, some cafes in different places. I had a lady friend who was she actually retired from doing comedy, but she performed with me and played my mother and wore a wig and everything. And then one of my other friends also, who still does, she doesn't sing as much, she's a singer, but she played my mother in one of the, my friend Roberta, she played my mother in a couple of, in some of the scenes that we did in
Mhm.
theater here in the Skokie Theater, and where I grew up. And it's it was so much fun because it would be like she talked me into the online dating, and then it showed us talking in like a kitchen setting, but we were sitting at a table. Like I would be coming back home and telling her what happened on the date. And then I talked her into the online dating, and then she would come home and talk about her, funny experiences. And and some of the scenes I had filmed in a friend's cafe that was in my hometown a few years back. She doesn't have the cafe anymore because she moved out of, actually moved out of the country. But she and her husband owned a cafe, and and she was so nice to let us film there at this. It was called Euro Echo Cafe, and some of the scenes are on my YouTube channel and on my website. If anybody likes to look up Debbie Sue Goodman and my website, stillsingle.org. They can see a lot of my my YouTube, my videos with some of the scenes of the funny stories. I've had a lot of friends, and there were some of my male friends were in the scenes in there, and there's some female friends that played a waitress or played background extras in the scenes. They're very cute. They're funny stories.
Oh, very cute. Well, Debbie, before I let you go, because
Sure.
I want to ask you do you have any comedy idols that inspired you to become a comedian?
Oh yes, there's oh my goodness, there's so many. I mean, I love Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I think he's wonderful. Of course, my comedian cousin is comedian, a legend, Shecky Green.
Okay.
When I go to visit him in Vegas, I've seen him in Vegas. The last time I was there in October, and he's wonderful. He sings to me, and he tells me
Nice.
jokes, and he's so funny. He's a very talented man. But there's so many comedians. Yes, I like through the years I've seen some Rita Rudner, Paula Poundstone. My goodness, Don Rickles. There's so many. I really. I mean, I think they're all wonderful.
Yes.
All the greats.
Joan Rivers. Let's not forget Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers was one of my favorites too.
Yes. She was awesome. Yes, Joan.
I loved her. She was so wonderful.
I know she was. Debbie, it was so good having you. You were so generous to come on my show for 15 minutes, but we did 30, and I appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you.
Time just went by so fast. You can buy Debbie's books, Still Dating and My Husband the Stranger, are available on Barnes and Nobles on their website. Still Single, you can find on Amazon. And you can follow Debbie on Twitter. It's at StillSingle2. So at StillSingle2. Debbie Sue is also on Facebook. So look for her on Facebook. Give her a follow on Instagram. Did I leave anything out, Debbie? Debbie, so I keep calling.
Wonderful. Yes. People can follow me on I'm on Instagram too. It's my profile and all my information of different shows that I do. I post them on Facebook, and I think I have about 5,000 friends now. I might have reached my limit, but people can always write to me on my website. My email is on there, and you could find me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn also, or Twitter would be wonderful. Yes. People can follow me and see my YouTube videos are on there, my comedy. Also, there's a few song videos, music videos, because I wrote some lyrics for songs. And in my library, a friend from the library, my local library, put some music to it. And my friend Mitch, some of his background music and his guitar and piano playing is on one of the songs too, so people can find me.
Awesome. And again, Debbie's website is stillsingle.org. Debbie, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully it won't be the last time.
Thank you so much, Rob, for inviting me on your wonderful show.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.